Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Daska Discusses. Boom. Alright guys, look, today not going through with a movie review today. Today I'm going to do something a bit different. Done a couple movie reviews so far. Just want to say well done to Yuto and Athena, friends of Daska Discusses on Facebook and Instagram, for getting the picture that the clue for the review on Ninja Turtles before I posted it. I said whoever can guess this will get a shout out. There's your shout out, well done. So for today's Daska Discusses, just want to discuss a few little things, obviously. One, obviously I've been given the task, I'll be going away over the summer for a few days, with family of course, in a big house along the Mornington Peninsula in Melbourne. And I'll be given the task as the movie buff of the family. They're like, okay listen, where we're going, there is no TV antenna, which is weird. Oh wait, hang on, there is TV, but they're only picking up a certain amount of channels, but there is no internet, and we can't get Netflix and Stan. Oh, what are we gonna do? There is a TV in there as well. It's an old rear projection TV, a big one apparently, but the problem is it only has RCAs. Now, I don't have attachments for laptops to hook things up, etc. So they said, hey, there's an old DVD player there, bring DVDs. And I'm like, well, why don't you guys just bring DVDs? I'm like, yeah, we will for the kids, etc. Like, we want you to bring some. Now, the problem is that, well, it's not really a problem, I don't mind doing that, but it is a big call. You're going somewhere for a week with family, and with family, friends as well, but you've also got the whole point that there's a bunch of kids there. They'll be taking their own DVDs, obviously, you know, Pixar, etc. Now, the thing is, with the people there that we're going with, there's the ages range from, I mean, obviously the kids about 7 till like, 17, 16, but the adults, you can say from 18 to about 51, maybe 50 max. So it's a big job. So what I'm decided to do today is basically an emergency package for my viewers and my subscribers and anyone watching this online, is to safe films to take. If you were ever given this task of taking DVDs, yes, if you forgot what they are, I'll show you what they are. I'm going to show you 14 DVDs that I'm going to take with me on this trip that, well, I think hopefully could do well. So without further ado, let's go through them, shall we? Boom! The first one I decided to go with was a classic, Chris Tucker, Jackie Chan, Rush Hour 2. Now, the thing is with Rush Hour 2 is that I believe it's the strongest of the trilogy. Buddy cop humor, it's not bad. I think it's a bit of a rip-off of Lethal Weapon, but with a bit of a different twist, obviously, it's not bad. I don't mind it. But Rush Hour 2, I think that could go down really well, especially with the scenes in Chinatown, etc. And I think Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan definitely, their humor and the way they acted off each other really worked well in this film. This is a safe film because there's some really good jokes in there, and even the kids would enjoy as well. The second one I did go for is Anchorman, Ron Burgundy. I'm Ron Burgundy? Yeah. Oh, Baxter, you know me too well. Really? The whole wheel of cheese? Yes. You can't go wrong with a bit of Will Ferrell as well, okay? Paul Rudd in there, Christina Applegate. Anchorman's full of one-liners that everyone can laugh at, okay? So even if, you hear people, I'm not a fan of Will Ferrell, I don't find it funny, you're still going to laugh at certain jokes. Now you're probably thinking, Daska, what's the point of this? Everyone's got different tastes. I'm telling you now, guys, that I've been given a job to do this. So I'm trying to get through different things. So my genre for comedy, this is the comedy DVDs I'm picking. If you don't agree, look, we'll talk about it later as well. The next DVD I've chosen to go for was classic from the 90s, Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, but When Nature Calls, okay? So When Nature Calls, everyone loves it. I'm more a fan of the original myself, but I think you'd find in a family setting and with, I guess, people that grew up in the 90s as well, they remember this a bit more for some reason. Even though I do reckon Ace Ventura Part 1 has a few more one-liners, this is more, I guess, say, physical gags and gags with animals and all that kind of stuff. I find it funny, but I just think Ace Ventura Part 1 is better. I wouldn't bring Ace Ventura Part 1 to this vacation, that's why I'm choosing Ace Ventura Part 2, because it's a bit more accessible for everyone. The next comedy I'll go for is another Jim Carrey one, Dumb and Dumber. I'm not even going to explain this. Jeff Daniels, Jim Carrey, doing their best in Dumb and Dumber. So many one-liners in this, so many great scenes. I saw this when I was, what, about 14 years old, 13, 14 years old. And it's a go-to movie, and family-wise, I mean, yeah, a couple, again, with the innuendos as well, it's in there, but it'll go over the kids' heads. But the majority from this age bracket will find this hilarious. The next one, I think, look, could be a bit of a curveball. I mean, Meet the Parents. Ben Stiller, Robert De Niro, for the older folk of this group that I'm going with as well, will find this hilarious, especially those that have got kids or, you know, are in-laws of some sort or are going to become in-laws. Meet the Parents, really got some really good lines in there as well. A good comedy. I'm not going to explain that even more. The third DVD, the next DVD I found was a 3-movie collector's pack that I had. Now, mind you, I have kind of transferred all my DVDs to digital and Blu-rays, you know. I mean, I've got how many different sets of Star Wars. We'll talk about my love for Star Wars another time. But this 3-movie DVD pack that I found, Buying the Cow, never actually watched that, so I don't know what that's all about. But apparently, you know, Jerry O'Connell, Bridget Wilson, Alyssa Milano, Ryan Reynolds is in it too. Okay, might check that out. Van Wilder, Party Liaison. Again, when I was at uni, this was a huge film as well. And again, great film, gross out comedies, okay? That and Waiting as well, gross out comedies. Maybe best suited for those around my age bracket, 30 to 35, around there. Maybe the older crew of the vacation group that we're going with might find it a bit too gross. Maybe some will remember it. But again, you gotta aim for that, okay? So that's what I'm saying. The other comedies you saw, aim for just about everyone. Meet the Parents to be different, but these two definitely for the, I guess you could say, the kids that grew up in the 90s kind of group. And even the ones of the millennials will find it funny, because Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool, etc. They'll make that connection. Now let's move on to the horror films, because every trip away needs some sort of horror films to watch, right? So what are you going to choose? You know, people pull out the big guns and pull out The Exorcist. Now I love that film, but with a group of people, you know, people are kind of genuinely scared of that. So I went for 2 different ones here. One, an Aussie film, Wolf Creek. Now, after looking at it, I picked it up and I'm like, you know what, I love this film. I think it's great Aussie filmmaking. And then I picked up The Strangers with, what was her name again? Liv Tyler, Scott Speedman. Great film. I mean, look, I think Wolf Creek is a better film. The Strangers is okay. It's got good suspense. It is quite scary, it's creepy. I just think Wolf Creek is a little bit too heavy for this kind of vacation. You want to go away, you're out at a beach house. Wolf Creek is a bit much, but The Strangers definitely hits the mark in terms of creepiness. If you've got a, you know, if one night if it's raining and it's bad weather and the adults want to put on a horror movie, I'm bringing this because it does the job. One setting, scary setting in a house, they get a knock at the door. Who is it? You know, is whoever's there, I can't remember what she says. Liv Tyler, quite creepy, music's creepy, everything's creepy. Not a big fan of the last act of the film. I haven't even watched the sequel because I heard it's pretty average. So, The Strangers hits that mark for me. Next thing I'm going to go for, I'll look at some action films. Now, may have a few car junkies coming to this vacation as well. That's why I chose Gone in 60 Seconds, Nicolas Cage, Angelina Jolie. You can't go wrong with this. Hey, I'm not a big car fan myself, but I don't mind this film. It's actually pretty awesome. Stealing cars. It's kind of like GTA, but in a film. Can't really get bored by watching this either because it's very linear with the storyline. Bad guy, good guy. Nicolas Cage's brother needs to get all these cars, and they've got one night to get it, and then you see what happens, and then when they go through all the different cars, it kind of reminds me of Gran Turismo on PlayStation 1. Like I said, I'm not a big car guy, but I don't mind that. This is doable. This is accessible, again, for the whole group. The next action film I was going to choose would be Rambo. Now, I did review First Blood, but I think that's a bit too heavy for everyone. But then having said that, Rambo itself, I was a big fan of it. It is quite violent, okay, and the violence in it isn't as, I guess you could say, humorous as one of the other next films I was going to show you in a second, but might be a bit iffy on this one because of the violence. I mean, on TV they cut out a lot of things, and on cable TV they cut out a lot of things, but I think it's great. And I think, you know, even for a Rambo film, I mean, they're going to know what to expect. If they want a good, brutal action film, that's one to put in. Now, let's look at some other different genres, shall we? In terms of comedies with a bit of action as well, you can't go past Arnold Schwarzenegger's classic Commando, okay? Now, again, violent just like Rambo, but in terms of the one-liners in this and the memorable scenes, those who grew up in the 80s and those who grew up in the 90s, even I grew up watching this as well, will find this hilarious. It is quite funny, the one-liners are there, you know, please do not disturb my friend, he's dead tired. Come on, we'll review this, I'll discuss this another time, but Commando is going in my list, okay, out of my 14 DVDs. The next one I was going to go for could be a bit, you know, iffy on depending on this kind of crowd, but again, the younger millennials will not get any of these references. I guess you could say people between the 30 to 35 age bracket, if they've seen this, will have a laugh. The older folk, 40 to 50-year-olds, will laugh definitely if they've seen this. This could be hit and miss. I'm talking about No Retreat, No Surrender. Look, you see it on YouTube, people usually talk about how bad this film is. I reckon it's in the category of so bad it's good. Van Damme, Kurt McKinney in this as well. The acting, look, it's not Oscar worthy, but I think it's something to behold when you see this film. I'm definitely going to discuss this at another time, but I put this in there as just a bit of a bonus for, hey, let's watch something that's really bad. It's also got some great action scenes in it too, with the fight scenes, so I thought I'd chuck that in there. The last two bonus films that I was going to throw into the mix were, well, one was an Australian film, another one was another horror, just in case we didn't have enough with The Strangers. The horror I was going to throw in as a bonus was the original Nightmare on Elm Street. Huge fan of Freddy Krueger. Grew up watching these. Now you're probably thinking, whoa, that's a bit disturbing. You're a little kid watching Freddy Krueger. You got to remember, guys, that the 80s and 90s censorship. I mean, we kind of like watched whatever we wanted back then, I guess. Now things are a bit different, obviously, but is it disturbing that I watched it as a kid? No, not really, because that's what happened, guys. Freddy Krueger, Friday the 13th, Halloween's, they were pretty accessible to us as kids, you know. I mean, my parents are pretty open about me watching horror movies. It was no big deal, and many of my friends as well. But Freddy Krueger, put that in there, a bit of a scare, a bit of a laugh as well. But I don't think that will go down well. I think, look, maybe I'm wasting my time chucking this into the pile, but that's it. I just thought I'd bring that in because I'm a big fan of the film as well. That's the thing, guys. I've got to be careful about, you know, whether or not, you know, is it my opinion on these films, or is it for everyone? You guys make the decision. And the last film I was going to throw in is another Aussie film, which is a comedy crime biopic, Chopper. Now, if you haven't seen Chopper and you're not Australian, that's un-Australian. No, I'm joking. If you haven't seen The Castle and you're Australian, that's un-Australian. I was going to put that into the pile, but I thought Chopper, I mean, yeah, it is an R-rated film, but again, full of one-liners, full of great scenes, great performance by Eric Bana. Fantastic performance, actually. I think it's a great biopic of Chopper Read, you know, a notorious gangland criminal of Melbourne, Australia. If you haven't seen it, do yourself a favour, as Molly Melody would say, and have a look at Chopper if you can. So look, that's my list of 14 DVDs that I've got, guys, that I will be taking with me. Now, like I said, I don't have access to Netflix and Stan and all that stuff. And I don't have cables to plug in my laptop before you say anything, so these were the DVDs I'm going to take. Look, hope you enjoyed this video, guys. If you like what you've seen, you just like and subscribe. If you've got any comments as to anything else I could chuck in, I've got a huge DVD collection, but I just thought these are a safe bet to go for. Now you could, you know, substitute a few for some other ones, like maybe you can take out Gone in 60 Seconds and chuck in Bad Boys if you wanted to. I don't know. Maybe you can take out Commando and put in Predator. You can do many things, but I just thought, look, they left me in charge. It's kind of like Fellowship of the Ring here. They gave me the job to do this. Am I going to let them down? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next episode of Daska Discusses, where I'll be looking at another film with more impersonations. Thanks for your support. I'll see you then.